All right, we got Ethan, the sommelier. I probably said that wrong.
You said it right.
Plus, I don't want to say cologner again because I know that's not really a word. Perfumer.
Yes, sir.
All right. He's in action right now. Can you describe what you're working on right now?
Absolutely. So right here I have one of the fragrances that I'm building for our Moi fragrance experience for one of our clients here. This is Tremaine Torrey. And it's a custom built cologne or perfume subscription. So actually what I do is we sit down, you tell me kind of what you want to smell like, you give me a couple bounds, and we sit down and we literally build it one-on-one. We go through all the notes that are going inside of it. And then for the subscription, every season, so winter, fall, summer, spring, you get a brand new fragrance built for you. And if someone likes the way any of your fragrances smell and wants to smell like you, if they purchase your fragrance through you, you actually will get a commission for it. So we're working on a fragrance for that right now.
Yeah, I like commissions. That sounds good.
Commission's good. Making money's good.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
How'd you get into the Perfumer game?
Yeah.
I messed that word up again.
So, see.
So your home part is something there.
Like it's like sensual, it's sexual, it's like attractive, but it's fresh. It's tropical. It's sweet, but not like too sweet. It's kind of herbal, and like you get that like spice, that pepperiness from it.
So Ethan, when you made that, he told you what his requirements were, or what he was into, and then you got the ingredients over here, and then that's how you made the cologne.
Exactly. So we sat down, we went through, and I'll pull out the other set. We went through all of this through like a different set of. He gave me like a set of requirements, and I pulled up the different ingredients that were kind of under those requirements, and then we were able to sit down and figure out what specific ingredients we wanted to use within those categories.
So everyone's scent is custom.
Everyone's scent is custom, and I've built 100 and we're coming up on 160 now different fragrances, and there has not been one that's exactly the same as another. And that's not just by the amounts of each ingredient, but literally I've never built two replicas of another fragrance with the exact same ingredients. So your fragrance is still, at this point, with the amount of materials I have, every fragrance is unique.
Except for that one, because I'm about to copy it.
You should copy, yeah. Well, if you copy it, kind of like I was saying before, if you want his fragrance, you can purchase it. It's the same price. It's actually $80 to get someone else's fragrance versus the $100 for the one-off, and he'll get a commission for it. Bro. So.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. So we'll both smell like me.
I'm gonna tell people I made that, by the way. I'm gonna tell them I came up with it, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna rename it and everything.
So I'm renaming it. This is the T-Main V3, boy. That's the V3.
How did you get into making scents?
For sure. So I started off actually as a sommelier, and so for me, working with wine, a lot of people don't know what the word sommelier is. Yeah.
Because I googled it on the way here. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So a sommelier is basically what we would call a steward of wine. And that's someone who's both an educator, they're going to find ways to take care of it. So whether it's wine inventory, they're also a salesman of it, so you do have to know how to sell it. But most importantly, you are like a lover of it. And I think that's what's most important in the process, is you have to really love wine. Sommelier might be the person at a restaurant who comes up to you and says like, hey, you're interested in doing a wine with dinner? Let's talk through the different ones you have, and they'll know the list. It could also be someone that runs a wine shop like where we're at right now, who's helping you find, out of the hundreds of bottles that are on this wall, which one is perfect for you. So that's kind of the premise of where it all started. That's where I fell in love with smells, because there's so many different wines out there, and each of them has their own unique smell. After I left the restaurant industry though, I was looking for a huge just rewrite of my life. I was like, I want a new haircut. I used to have my afro. So I wanted a new haircut. I wanted a new style. I wanted a new, like, everything. And the biggest thing that I really wanted was to finally find like a new, like, cologne for me, or a new perfume for me. And I looked everywhere. I went to like Nordstrom. I went to all the different malls in town, and went to little booths and was tasting and smelling and looking online. And I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for, which was this earthy, peaty, like smoky fragrance. So I was sitting down one day across from one of my friends, and I was like, you know what? Like, screw this. I'm done. I'm just gonna build it myself. And like that's the entrepreneur in me. And he looked up and he said, yo, if you like build one for you, will you build one for me? I'll pay you for it. I was like, that's the business. So from that point, literally the next day, I was on Amazon looking for different materials. I was on Google looking up how to build it. I started getting books in and started looking at like what are the proper ways to do perfumery and where can I learn and do I need to go to school? Do I need a degree and certification for everything? And that was now, it's August now, so that was almost 8 months ago. That was back in January, so 7-8 months. And at this point now, like I said, I've built right around 160 different fragrances. I'd say of those 160, only 6 or 7, maybe 7 at this point, have been sent back, saying like, oh, I didn't like it, or sometimes not that they didn't like it, but that it didn't last long enough, or certain things like that. But it's definitely, at this point, given me the courage to say like, I want to do this. And now I'm falling in love with the actual process. So, yeah, so that's how I got into it.
And if someone wants to order your products, where do they go?
They can go to moifragrances.com. That's MOI fragrances.com. And there's actually a ton of information on there if you're just curious about how it all works. I just launched a experience guide, and that experience guide actually will run you through some of the fragrance facts that are out there for how to build a fragrance. It'll tell you a little bit about like how my company works. It'll also give you information on just like some myths that are out there about the fragrance world. There's a lot of rumors about how things work that might not be true, and it definitely goes over some of those as well. So.
And back to the sommelier thing. That's not an easy thing to get.
No, it's not.
I heard it's an extensive process.
Very much so. So to go through your level 1, they suggest that you have at least anywhere between 4 to 5 years in the restaurant industry just to get started, because there's so much about just wine that at a base you need to know. It's very hard to learn that in the amount of time that it might take for you to go and take your first exam. So there's 4 different levels, going through the quartermaster sommeliers, which is who I'm certified through. You've got your level 1, which is also called your introductory, and that's where they're going to basically just go over the different regions, the different main varietals of grapes, you learn about the different soils, the different climates. You have to know about little basics about how to build wine, how to blind taste wine, which is what you might see in all those movies where you'll see someone take a glass and swirl it, sniff it, and then all of a sudden they're telling you everything that's in it and what specific wine it is, and then reveal the bottle and they're right. So you do have to know how to do that. And then that can take you like, it took me a couple months, but I'd already worked in the industry when I took my exam for about 6 years. The level 2, you take all that information and you might as well like double it. So the level 2 is much more information, a lot deeper, a lot more focused, and you have a lot more grapes and wines to learn about than just the ones that are like the basics. So that would take you like about 1.5 years probably to study for. The level after that, you might as well like 4x it. So level 3 is much more serious. It moves a little bit away from the world of just like tasting and smelling wine to actually selling, keeping it in cellars, the production process, all of that. And that process is a lot more complex. And then the level 4 is the one that most people know about, and that is still to this day ranked the hardest exam in the world, which is the Court of Master Sommeliers Master Sommelier exam, which people will spend anywhere between 10 to 15 years of their lives preparing for. There are, I think, only, I don't want to butcher this, but I think there's less than 285 in the world and in the history of the world that are Master Sommeliers, and that's in the past, I think, 50 to 60 years of existence. There's only been 285 of them. So that's if you want to go that super rigorous route, that's the route that you would go for becoming a sommelier. And I'm a level 1. There you go.
But you aim to be 286.
Well, I don't think so. You know, someone asked me that. I was actually just talking with Katie here, the owner of the shop that we're in, about that path. And, you know, if you become master sommelier, you're guaranteed a huge salary for the rest of your life. You'll always have a job because you're one of only 286. But for me, I love wine. I love what I do. I love smelling. I love tasting. But I've never seen it as being a career for me. I've always seen it as being more of like a hobby. And then possibly down the road being able to use it in certain areas of my career. So like with this, for example, I can do perfume and wine tastings. So we'll bring out a bunch of bottles of wine, we'll taste through the wine, you can learn a little bit about wine, which is good for your nose or for your palate for training it. Then we'll come over and we have a huge variety of things then to go through. And your nose is a little bit more prepared for that. So I love being able to offer that opportunity as well because of my experience as a sommelier. But I don't see myself being 286. At least not right now. That's not where I'm thinking I'm headed.
And what got you into the entrepreneurial spirit from the beginning?
Absolutely. So I would say I think I've always been an entrepreneur. My parents would probably vouch for this. When I was a kid, in like the 1st or 2nd grade, I actually used to build origami, and I would sell it to other kids for their lunch money. So I ended up getting that business shut down by like the school because it was illegal to sell stuff at school, period. And so I continued to sell things as I got older. I got into middle school and I sold like candy bags and like little packages. And I'd say my first business ever that had like a sale where it was like, hey, buy one, get one free, was that. We had, me and my friend Cody Hastings, I just built him a fragrance like 2 weeks ago. And he was like, his dad owned a gas station. We would get discounts on like the chips and things. And so he would go in, he'd buy a bunch of it. We'd split it up into different like lunch bags. And at lunchtime we would go out, we would sell them. Well, we were like, what if we gave people loyalty cards and said like, if you come back, you can use this. It's like a punch card. On your last one, you'll get a free one. So we had people literally with loyalty cards coming up to us, getting their punches, buying stuff, and the school was literally like, "Hey, you guys can't like sell here." So being the entrepreneurs we were, being straightforward, I went to a school that wasn't always the safest in middle school, and we hired bodyguards. We made enough to hire some friends that would like, you know, distract security, or like if people came up trying to take candy or stuff from us, we had these bodyguards that literally were with us during lunchtime, and we would give them free food or a little bit of extra cash, and that's how we protected our business at first. Eventually the actual security, like the security for the school, caught on, and they took our inventory, and that was the end of that business.
It's a quick way to end it.
That was that. And they just took our inventory, said, you guys don't have anything, we weren't allowed to sell anymore. Then I got to high school and I started a nonprofit called the League of Gentlemen that to this day still kind of exists in its own way. It's I call it like a brotherhood of different individuals, and we're all kind of business owners or engineers, architects, but we're all kind of on this path to make a bigger difference in the world, and that's kind of like the mission that we're on. So not long after that, we started a company called Glimpse, which is how eventually I met Tremaine. We started a company called Glimpse, and that was like my first jump into like the tech world. And I'd always been fascinated with like science and like technology, but I was studying in school radio and television production because I wanted to be a screenwriter. And man, the journey from there just gets bigger and bigger. We did Glimpse. We built like this. It was an app where you had a 3D globe and you could literally spin it around and see what was happening anywhere in the world. Zoom in, zoom out, watch live video. and this was before Snapchat. So this is before Snapchat, this is before Facebook Live, this is before Instagram Live. I don't even know if Instagram was even quite like a thing yet. I think it existed, but you remember like the old Instagram logo with like the brown camera and the 3 stripes? It was like that Instagram. So we had already built, like, I actually still got the app. We already had like this 3D globe, like, that we could literally, you could spin around and see what's happening around the world. This is the OG stuff. And so we did that for a bit. We raised some money. We couldn't gain traction. We swapped. We decided we wanted to start working with nonprofits through the app, where you could donate, you could write a petition, you could make a donation. And so we did that, and then eventually we made one last pivot, which is the pivot where I did meet Tremaine. And we took the company and we decided, like, let's build a software. And this is the OG clips, like the throwbacks. You can literally zoom in and like see what's happening around the world. You can click on these little dots that were on there. But Volinetics was what came next. So it was this, we took all of the data that was supposed to be coming from this and said, what if we just became like a data company and helped these businesses these nonprofits basically to collect data about what's happening around the world. And then they could use that money to raise funding. So we built like an enhanced time clock that would basically tell you how many hours a volunteer spent on site, what kind of impact they had. Oh, that's it. What kind of impact they had. And that would allow them to take that information, build different reports.
He's smiling. I think that's the one.
That's it.
Let me smell that, bro, because I gotta copy this, so I gotta know the setting.
I like that.
Nah, that is good right there.
Yeah. I'm like, not gonna lie, you can say the right thing. But yeah, I'd say that's where the entrepreneurial spirit came from. There's a lot. I think my entire life I've been an entrepreneur.
So what's next for you, bro? What's the plans for the next phase?
Next phase. So I got a lot of stuff that I'm gonna be rolling out for this business over the next couple of months. You'll see some tech advancements within the company. I'm gonna be adding some like features to my website for profiles where you'll literally be able to build your fragrance. It'll track over to your profile. You can share out your fragrances on Facebook. You can name them online. So I'm gonna be doing some stuff with that. I'm gonna be doing a lot more perfume and wine events. These have really been catching on. So those will be fun. I actually am taking a little bit of a different turn too with the custom, and I'm working with brands now. And pretty soon, if all goes well, you'll be seeing my name behind the scenes on a couple of fragrances that'll be launching across the US. I've got 3 different brands that I'm in. One that I've finished negotiations with, and now we're finalizing production. One that I'm doing negotiations with, and one that I'm building samples for. So you'll see my name behind a couple of different fragrances that'll be releasing pretty soon. And then, yeah, man, I think after that, after perfumery, once this kind of has its legs, I want to start doing clothes. I want to have a fashion line that goes along with the perfume. So that's what I see next.
It makes sense, actually. So once again, how can people get in touch with you if they want the perfume or cologne?
Absolutely. If you want to get a custom-made cologne or perfume, head to moifragrances.com. That's MOI fragrances.com. And you can find out information there. You can also order online. Everything I normally do is virtual, so we sit down, we do it all on a phone call, and sure enough, you get your fragrance bill.
And how long does it take once you do it online to get your...
The online part, so there's a form you fill out. The form can take anywhere between probably like 5 to 10 minutes. After you fill the form out, we do a 15, 20-minute consultation at a later date. And then after the consultation is done, we actually, I'll build the fragrance for you, ship it to you, and that usually takes about a week.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you for your time, sir. The wine was good.
Oh, yeah.
The cologne smells good. My man here seems happy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a happy customer.
That's it?